Okay, guys, so for everyone uh, watching on Instagram Live, we are in a Zoom call with Dr. Naresh Thumati, who's based in Vancouver, Canada, and is an expert on pharmaceutical, nutraceutical, natural health products, food, cosmeceutical, controlled substances, medical devices, the export-import of these items from India to the world. If you're watching us right now on Instagram Live, the link to join us is on Zoom. Is the link to join us is in my bio, the Instagram bio. There's a link right there, the Zoom link. Click that. You can join us in Zoom to watch the full conversation. And I see we have plenty of people here in the actual Zoom meeting. Thank you for joining us, guys. And I think I'm gonna for everyone watching on Instagram Live, you have a few minutes, and Dr. Naresh also. We're gonna just give it a few minutes here. I'm gonna do some technical setup. The Q&A is working, and I'm gonna check this chat here. All right, here we go. Okay, hey, guys, for those of you that are in the Zoom, let me know if you can see what I'm chatting here. I'm typing in the chat. Are you able to see what I'm typing in there? Uh, okay, here we go. Oh, never mind. Now I've enabled it. Okay, here we go. Okay, all right, great, perfect. Great, guys. Thank you so much. Okay, so the chat is working. There's a Q&A working. You can type your questions in the chat. You can type your questions in the Q&A. And if you type it in the Q&A, then there's also a little button there to upvote. So if a lot of people want a certain question answered, you can type that in the Q&A and it can be voted up. Looks like Dr. Naresh, you're a very popular guy here. We have a lot of people joined. I think it's a hot topic, to be
It
honest.
is a topic. It is a topic.
It's a hot topic, and I wanted to discuss that with you as well about how did we get here, where India is called the pharmacy of the world, just like China is called the factory of the world. But before I do that, let me just go through make one more announcement here on Instagram Live. For those of you that are watching us on Instagram Live, we are in Zoom with Dr. Naresh Thumati, who's an expert in pharmaceutical, nutraceutical, health product, food, cosmeceutical products, the export of these items from India to the world. If you'd like to join us, the link to join the Zoom is in the bio of my Instagram. You just have to click that. It'll ask you name, first name, last name, email. You can instantly join this Zoom that we're in right now, and you can ask questions live to Dr. Naresh here on the Zoom. So, and everyone on the Zoom looks like we're good to go. I can see your Q&A, I can see your chat. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce the guest for today. My guest today is Dr. Naresh Thumati, who lives in Vancouver, Canada. He is a scientist, an entrepreneur, and the founder and principal consultant of TVR Pharmaceuticals. That's his company. He holds a PhD in pharmaceutical sciences from Germany and brings over 20 years of multidisciplinary experience in research and development, regulatory affairs, quality management, GMP auditing. I've given you a lot of acronyms here. We'll talk about what all these mean later. He's worked in a wide range of sectors, and we're going to talk about all these sectors today, including pharmaceutical, nutraceutical, which is dietary supplements, natural health products, food, cosmeceuticals, which is different from cosmetics, which I didn't even know before the call today. So we'll talk more about that. Controlled substances, medical devices. And in all of these fields, Dr. Naresh Thumati's experience spans the entire product cycle. So sourcing those items, formulation, development, R&D, manufacturing, GMP compliance. We'll talk about what that means. Domestic and global distribution. Most importantly for us, the import export of these items, audits, regulatory, supply chain, business development, market access. We're going to talk about all these things as we go deeper into this conversation. And he has a very deep understanding of the regulatory frameworks for these products for two countries in particular, which is the US and Canada. and he supports startups, emerging brands, industry leaders in navigating all these complex laws and regulations for all these types of products. And if you read any of the material that I sent in the lead up to this conversation, one of the things I mentioned is that, as all of you probably know, pharmaceutical, nutraceutical, food, medical devices, these are some of the most regulated sectors for import export. They are the most complicated sectors by far. How do you deal in these sectors? How do you build a business or grow your existing business in one of these categories? This is the man to talk to right here. I actually met Dr. Naresh. I can't even remember how we met, but we had one conversation a couple of months ago,
Yes.
and immediately I knew that we have to put this guy in connection with the larger network and get Dr. Thumati's message out there to the wider Indian export import business community, as well as we have many people who are not NRI, not Indian, joining this call as well, who are interested in Indian import export. To understand this sector, which is a very confusing sector for most people, it has a lot of regulation, it has a lot of rules, standards, different things that you have to meet. So, anyways, I've given a very long introduction there. Welcome to the Export Circle, Naresh. Thank you so much for taking out the time to speak to us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Rohit. It's my pleasure to be here. Am I audible?
You're audible. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's my pleasure, and thank you very much. I didn't realize about my expertise when you spoke about it. It's a long journey,
No,
but you did a great job. It's always a challenge for me to explain what I do,
yeah. No,
having multiple
it's.
expertise.
I mean, you're
But
you're
right, what you said.
you're very, very specialized, and I think it's very rare to have someone that has your knowledge, skill set, on top of that, a PhD in your field. So really, it's truly an honor to have you here, and I hope that we can use you and people can continue conversations with you for their individual businesses even after we do this call.
Agree.
So
Thank you.
yeah, I wanted to jump into a little bit of history, which you might, just to give everyone a little bit background. We have some people on this call who I know a few who for sure have a pharmaceutical background. Others are just curious about the industry in general. How did we get to this situation that we're in right now, where just like China is called the factory of the world, in the import-export community, India is called the pharmacy of the world? What happened in the last couple of decades that India reached this situation?
Rohit, the good question to start with. I welcome everybody, and then I'm open for any questions related to this. Before I go and jump on to answer, I have to say kudos to you because I've been in the industry for 20 years. Not many people could come out and speak the information that is required for a lot of startups. And I deal with a lot of startups. They are in a lot of ambiguity, lack of knowledge, a lot of information, and there is no right information, right conclusion. Interpretation of these regulations is very, very challenging. But when I saw you doing these videos about the import exports of the products, lifestyle products, amazing. You're an inspirational entrepreneur. When I found that you're doing the right job, then I thought as the right person I should communicate with you. That's how I messaged you. But thank you for replying back to me. And then after that, we exchanged a few messages and we talked about a lot of technical terms, and then we connected very well. And then that's how this leads to this meeting here. And then coming back to the pharmaceutical business, the pharmacy of the world, yes, because the China has been a leader in many lifestyle products for outsourcing, but when it comes to the pharmaceutical industry, the foundation happened in 1960s or 1950s, where India had taken the lead in the finished product manufacturing, whereas China took ingredient manufacturing. So that never that because thanks to our Indian universities, where there are a lot of foundation, B Pharmacy, M Pharmacy, pharmaceutical sciences, this is very good education system that built a lot of graduates, that built a lot of and also those big pharmas in India, starting from Rambaxi in our childhood days, we used to see that from there the diaspora expanded very well. And that's how India started leading to the farmers' finished products. When the things moved in the Western world, about the healthcare and then challenges and then competitive pricing, India became the only alternate to manufacture this product at affordable price because we are the only one equipped with the finished product manufacturing. Okay, and it's not easy in the pharmaceutical industry to replace or to change the source or to manufacture these products. It's a long journey. Every pharmaceutical company who is working here, who is exporting into US market now, they've been in the industry for 30, 40 years. It's not easy to develop a drug and then get into the market. Drug development itself takes at least, most of the Indian manufacturers or generic manufacturers, they take at least 4 to 5 years of drug development, and then regulatory approvals takes another 2 years, and then getting into the market takes another year. So it's a long journey, and then it cannot be changed, can't be replaced easily. But unfortunately, that foundation happened in Indian market for a long time ago, and they are the leaders. If I'm not wrong, in 2023, I guess the IMS data says that Indian about 87% of generic drugs in US are imported from India.
Wow.
The number is shocking. And about 83% of generic drugs in Canada are imported from India. Okay.
Wow.
So
Okay.
the volumes are big, but unfortunately the generic drugs are low cost compared to the brand drugs. That's why
Right.
dollar value is not big,
Right. Right.
but the volumes are big.
So,
But they're playing big role in chronic
okay.
diseases.
So to summarize what you said there, it's a mix of similar, very similar to the IIT infrastructure with tech, in that you had a good education system and infrastructure in India, coupled with Indian diaspora heavily involved in health sciences, and that over the decades resulted in the situation where we're providing such high numbers in terms of, for the key, and are the numbers similar? You mentioned US and Canada. Are the numbers similar for Europe? Where in terms
Totally, totally.
of
In fact, it's more.
more,
Because yes, India has that advantage of human resources, skilled human resources in the pharmaceutical industry.
right?
Yes, and I've seen that now the neighbor countries are taking Indian expertise. A lot of Indians are working in Bangladesh and China because those countries are taking our expertise by paying a lot to establish these resources. But it's not that easy as
Got it. Yeah. So as you mentioned, that these types of, and we're talking about the factories now and the actual setup, it takes years to get the right regulatory in place, the right licenses, approvals, things like
and
that, which India has already achieved in for so many of these categories. So in that sense, you mentioned China is the ingredient supplier and India produces like the finished drug. So in terms of the finished drug or nutraceutical, or let's say cosmeceutical, are these for a finished product? Is China even competition for India, or China's not even in the running?
so, Rohit, let me take it and make it more clarifying. So, what we spoke about is the pharmaceutical industry.
Right.
The nutraceutical industry is completely different.
Completely different.
Yes, in terms of the market, because most of the nutraceutical industry, it's people think that it's just vitamins and minerals, but that reached saturated, and then now the market is expanding, moving towards bringing traditional medications into the nutraceutical world. For example, India has a long history of Ayurvedic products. A lot of Indian companies already started how we can convert that Ayurvedic medications into a dose controlled, a safe delivered method of drug, or shouldn't say drug, a supplement. That is where Indian Ayurvedic is playing main role. Apart from that, a lot of contract manufacturers in India who are the big supporters of any big chains in the US. You take any Walgreens or Walmart, all these big chains having their own brand products are made in India. So in contract manufacturing of nutraceuticals and converting Ayurvedic products into the nutraceuticals, that's where India is playing role. At the same time, this similar traditional medicine is also existing with Chinese medicine. Chinese medicine is also very ancient. So that's where China is also coming up very well for the nutraceutical ingredients, nutraceutical contract manufacturing, and at the same time Chinese medicine. Some products are coming from Korea. So most of the Asian cultures, they have the traditional medicine now that is converting into the because a lot of natural green health, healthy diet functional, I would say, functional supplements. That's where industry is leading to.
Yeah.
So nutraceutical, I would say India, Canada, India, China, they're all playing important role in terms of all kind of ingredients, contract manufacturing, and converting the traditional medicines,
Right.
which is, but in terms of the pharmaceutical, India is leading in the finished product manufacturing.
Right. Okay. You're right. And so we had a conversation before this call, guys, and I, Dr. Naresh, you said it yourself that most likely right now we have 87 people listening on this call right now. Majority of you guys are not a pharmaceutical factory, right? And the more approachable industries, as you mentioned before in our conversation before the call, is probably cosmeceutical and nutraceutical for the majority of people. So maybe we can spend some time talking about these two categories since we just talked about it, and especially Ayurveda, which is an interesting category that we can talk about. So you touched on that right now, that let's say you have an Indian supplement, it's Ayurvedic or it's natural or regional, maybe it's made in some part of Maharashtra, some part of Uttarakhand, and this product has been produced for hundreds of years or many decades. How can you commercialize that product and export that product into, let's say, for the markets that you're an expert in, US and Canada?
Great. Exactly, Rohit. To use the time more valuable, so I said, you know, pharmaceutical is a lengthy process, and then if needed, we can talk in one-to-one. The majority, maybe a lot of startups, young entrepreneurs, new entrepreneurs come into this low-hanging fruit, cosmeceutical and nutraceutical, that is more happening in from India. So, and I would elaborate there. So, nutraceutical or cosmeceutical, even it comes to the pharmaceutical, the fundamental, the basic requirement to export into US or Canada, it always requires two major approvals: the product and the facility. So, the facility should have certain requirements,
Mm-hmm.
and the product should have right specifications and label. This is important. And when it comes to the nutraceutical, the facility should have GMP in process. GMP means, you said acronyms, good manufacturing practices.
Mm-hmm.
So the facility should have good manufacturing practices. All the SOPs, the quality system should be in place. The documentation is in place to assess the quality of the product that you're manufacturing in your facility. But in terms of nutrition, this is where a little confusion a lot of entrepreneurs has. People think that does FDA come to audit the facility? No. When you're manufacturing for nutraceuticals, FDA or not even Health Canada for Canadian market, they do not come to audit the site, unlike the pharmaceutical market. So they expect you to have this assurance, self-assurance that you are practicing GMP and should have all the documentation in place if needed. Okay. And when it comes to the US market, for nutraceutical market, which includes the dietary supplements, all the healthcare supplements, natural health products, this all comes under dietary supplements. The category is called the dietary supplements in US, and in Canada it is called the natural health products,
Mm-hmm.
NHP. So this is the two terms we hear more often in these markets. So, but the product need to be manufactured at this site, and then the facility need to have a FDA registration. So it is an administrative process. This is nothing to do with the audit. So you need to go and register your facility with FDA, saying that your address, your facility, where you are manufacturing. So FDA knows that there is a factory who is manufacturing for US market. Like you have lifestyle products, like you have food products, you need to have the FDA registration, and then you need to have your GMP in place, and then start manufacturing your product. The product should have right specifications. You cannot include all the right ingredients. The acceptable ingredients is important. So there is certain category of ingredients which are accepted under dietary supplements. You cannot bring a pharmaceutical ingredient and call it as a drug, so call it as a dietary supplements. So this is where very important to assess your formulation, make sure that it has the right ingredients which are acceptable under FDA regulations, in right dosing, right quantities. which is a major factor. That's where the many companies go in wrong direction. So make sure that you have right quantities and the label. Once you have these ingredients, you make sure that the label is in compliance with the FDA standards. Now I'm speaking about US market, so should have FDA label compliance and then start exporting in the US market. That's looks sounds easy, but there's some critical steps that you need to make sure. But it's doable and then not time consuming. So that is something a low hanging fruit for sure compared to a pharmaceutical industry. And then similarly, the dietary supplements in Canada, it is called the natural health products.
Hmm.
The natural health products in Canada is highly regulated. So the facility
More than
and
the US?
yes,
More than the US.
unfortunately,
Okay.
yes. The facility as well as the product both need to have an approval,
Hmm.
similar to a pharmaceutical drug.
Oh,
So
approval is there any inspection happening for that?
that's something called, as I said, there is no physical audit,
No
but you need
physical.
to submit all your site documents.
Okay.
As I said, in terms of FDA US, you need to have all the documents in place and you have to self confirm that you're practicing.
Hmm.
There is no assessment.
No one goes.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but when it comes to the Canada, you need to submit all your documents to Health Canada. They assess your documents. If they have any questions, they'll ask you. So this is, we call in the industry something called the desktop assessment. So
Desktop
you,
assessment. Meaning
okay,
no one
and
is physically going to any facility in India.
no, for
You have to
nutrition.
self-report and they will do an approval on your self-reporting.
True. So it's called the desktop audit, desktop
Desktop audit.
assessment. So
Okay.
what we do is, as experts in the industry, as a consultants, we do first assessment of all your documentation and we guide the manufacturer. If there is any gaps, we fill the gaps. We make sure that they have right process in place, and then we submit to Health Canada so that the chances are very high that you get passed. And then you get a registration number called the Foreign Site Registration Number. It's called FSRN.
Hmm.
Okay. Once you have a FSRN, it is kind of a registration number that you are eligible to export the products into Canada.
Okay. All
The
right.
products that are made in this facility are eligible to export into Canada. And then you need to have an importer who could import, or you can buy yourself to import into Canada and market it there. So that is about the facility. And then the product, every dietary supplement, which is an NHP, natural health product in Canada, should have a registration to market in Canada. It's called the NPN, Natural Product Number.
Okay.
So you need to submit your product specifications, the formulations, then safety. There are three types of classes: class 1, class 2, class 3, depending on the complexity of these products. So Health Canada has defined some established products like vitamins, minerals. They're called the monograph products. They all fall under class 1. Under class 1, when you submit this application, the review process is very quick, and then you don't need a huge documentation because it's all established ingredients. But when you take some of the Ayurvedic product like Shilajit example, which is very common coming up product, so it's not established product. The safety is not known in the marketplace. So Health Canada expect you to submit some safety data.
Okay.
Okay, so these are all the regulatory process to go through,
Yeah.
and such complex products are under class 3, so class 1, class 2, class 3.
Hmm.
So you get your regulatory approval. Then once it is approved, your product is receives a number called NPN, natural product number.
That's
So that
Canada.
means your
That's
facility should
NPN.
have the approval
NPN is only for Canada.
only for Canada.
Okay.
So for Canada, your facility should have the registration, your product should have the registration. Having these two registrations, you get in, you can distribute your product. So the other option that a lot of Indian companies do is they get the facility approved, and then they can go and talk to a lot of Canadian companies saying that, hey, my facility is approved to export into Canada. If you have a product that is approved, I can manufacture the product for you. That means you are only acting as a contract manufacturer.
Hmm.
So that is a one good opportunity if you have a manufacturing facility.
Yes.
And then second opportunity is you manufacture for yourself, for your brand, and get into the Canadian market.
Correct. Correct.
That's the two options you can do it. So there is a quite a bit difference in the regulatory environment for these two markets,
Right.
but both the products doable. With
Yeah. Some similarity. So do both, just to summarize, so would both the US and Canada require a GMP, sort of good manufacturing practice?
correct,
Correct.
correct.
And is that difficult, expensive? Is it something that's annual? Do you pay every year for that? How does that work?
So here is the good news. There is no regulatory fees
Okay.
for Health Canada.
Okay.
And then FDA, of course, there is no audit or there is no approval process. So there is no approval regulatory process. If you have a good quality department, quality team, they can handle it. When people like us who has expertise, we help them for. So it's only from your side to build your GMP, but there is no fees from regulatory agencies.
Oh, no fees. It's
No
just
fees.
you are establishing a certain. Wait, so who actually gives you the GMP then?
So the regulatory agencies,
Okay.
that's a good question. There are two ways you can get the GMP. So first, you self-assess your GMP process with the expertise like us.
Okay.
Anybody in the industry who is a GMP expert, they can audit your facility in physical or in desktop, and that's what we do often. And then make sure that you have GMP, and
Okay.
then you can directly go and get the approval from Health Canada. Of course, FDA does not do it. There is a next level. There are some private entities like NSF,
Okay. Yeah.
SGS,
Right.
and I don't want to tell the names here for the conflict of interest, but some private organizations, but they're also well-known brands. They also audit. It's good to have those audit
Yeah.
certifications. So saying that my facility has this audit,
Agree.
I'm certified. That's as accreditation that you have.
I agree. And that's something that for those of you, I see a lot of people here that have gone through the course. I say that all the time that doesn't matter if there's no requirement for sometimes there's no requirement for anything from a safety perspective, product safety testing. You should still have it and get it from a brand name like a SGS, Intertech, TUV. You have that PDF test report. It proves your product's safety. You have the brand name lab, the testing agency. Anything goes wrong, now you have this test report, which is it's just something good to have for being in business. Because as you said, okay, so just to summarize, for the U.S. and Canada market, if we're talking about nutraceutical, you need GMP. You need if you're doing going for the US market, you need FDA registration. Then there's some approvals you need. Canadian export is a little bit more complicated because you need some additional approvals given by Health Canada, which then results in some codes that you get like an NPN number for the Canadian
It's an
market.
FSR number.
Yeah. And overall takeaway is that the U overall takeaway that I got from what you're saying is the US is slightly more regulation. I mean, slightly less. The US
Yes,
is slightly less regulation. Canada is more regulation. The US has the additional step of FDA registration,
true.
which I'm assuming uh, I import some medical devices. That's an annual fee. Is it
Correct.
correct?
So there is no annual fees for supplement industry, but the only thing that you pay is the FDA agent fees.
FDA agent fee. Which how much are we talking in USD or
Depends. There's some agents who charge you for $300. Some agents that charge you for $200
per
to up
year?
to $500
Per
people
year?
per year. And FDA registration, it's all these agencies charge you a couple of $1,000.
Couple $1,000.
Yes.
Okay, we have so many people in the export circle community, and I get this question all the time as well. That can I recommend an FDA agent for a food facility or this nutraceutical facility? Is that something? Do you have contacts for that FDA
We do.
agents, or can you do
Yes.
that, or how?
Yeah, yeah, yes, of course, and that's I've been helping more than a couple of hundred companies in India for the last 20
Do
years.
you act as the agent yourself, or
I'm not eligible to be agent because I'm not residing in US, but I am partnered with some agents, and then there are there's nothing that a partnership, but I know them in industry and then well-established agents. You can find them easily in the Google search, but I can also recommend some agents for sure.
I think
And,
it'd be better if you have someone. There are so
yeah,
many, and I think I can already see 10 people who this would be useful for. If we need a reference for an FDA agent,
oh yes, we can
then
take care of that.
we can do that. And Canada doesn't have anything like that, or it does.
So Canada doesn't have any FDA agent, but you need to have an importer. So you, being an Indian company, a foreign manufacturer, you can be yourself come into Canadian side and then call yourself as an importer.
If you do you need a Canadian company to do that?
Either you register your Canadian entity, or you can partner with a Canadian company,
Okay.
or people like us who has the company can act as your
Your company, TVR Pharma, could act as
correct.
the importer of record.
Correct.
Okay.
So this is how we cut the expenses for our clients. So
Right.
when we sit with them, we look at assess the business model. What do you want to do? What is your capabilities? What is your end goal? Based on that, we plan the business model. It is not easy to say generalized. This is the way to go. Everybody
Right.
has their own interest. Somebody has their own brand. Somebody don't have a brand, but they want to manufacture a brand for you. Or somebody want to build a brand, but do not want to have a warehouse or importer office in Canada. So we worked with them. We built as required the business model, and definitely end of the day, most of these startups, the biggest challenge is the cost effective. We don't want them to bleed the dollars, right? So that's what we work with the least cost, so that affordably you can launch them.
Right.
Yes.
I also want to talk about cosmeceuticals and cosmetics because I feel and food as well because those are really interesting categories. Before we do that, I have a lot of people in the chat asking this question and wanting to get your opinion on it. And I know we talked about it a little bit in our WhatsApp messages before we did this call, as well as our call yesterday. What is your opinion if we're talking about the Canadian market? Okay, it's wide open for India, right? But as of 3 weeks ago, now we have this 50% tariff on the Indian goods. And what is your opinion? Some of the entrepreneurs on this call are looking at the US market. Should I even do this anymore? They're asking themselves these questions. So, what do you think about this current situation that we're facing just in the last 3 weeks?
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
Okay, this is an everyday question. Being an expert, people think that I have answered, but let me give my opinion.
Sure.
The tariffs cannot. So the first, let me come this way. When there is a tariff of 50% on the product when you import into US, who should absorb this 50% cost? The exporter or the importer, who is the consumer, end consumer? In lifestyle products, since there is a competition from different markets, so if India, suppose you take it, the cloth industry, or any other lifestyle products, when you're bringing the product into here, it adds another 50%. The importer don't want to take that 50%, then they can choose an importer from other country. It's possible. No disrespect, but no disrespect. But I want to say that there is a chance that you can change your source of your, shoe manufacturer or cloth manufacturer. But when it comes to the pharmaceutical industry, when I am the exporter from India, if I say that I don't want to take this 50% extra charge, the importer on the US side have to take it because they have no other alternative to change the manufacturer. So that is the advantage India will be on this for pharmaceutical industry. So in summary, I would say India will be having a more upper hand on these tariffs,
Right.
and then either US should take this cost or they have to compromise. I think that's why there is a pause now. The discussion is going on.
Right. Yeah.
Being I know the process. If I cannot take this cost, being an importer in US, if I want to change the manufacturer from India to other country where there is no tariff,
Mm,
it takes at least 2 to 3 years to get the reapproval of this process.
agree.
Should I pause my business for 3 years? No. And then what happens eventually? The importer has to absorb this 50%. That means the consumer will be paying 50% more on every month medical bill, which is not easy for a lot of senior citizens.
Mm,
So there should be a way to go. I hope these two governments will work together. End of the day, senior citizens who are the chronic patients every month paying $400 to $500 monthly medical bill, in their bill goes up to $750 to $800. This is big impact.
agree. Yeah. And so, in summary, guys, I would also say that I think Naresh and me are in a similar position where we're taking a long-term perspective on Indian manufacturing, which you should also, that we're going to keep making things in
And
the US for a
that's
very
how
long
it.
time. What happens in regulatory in between this president coming in for 3 years, changing a bunch of things in the last 3 weeks? I've been in Indian manufacturing for 10 years. So I'm taking a long-term perspective on it. And Also, if something happens that's completely disastrous from a policy perspective, there's the Canadian market, there's the European market, there's the Australian market. But I do think, as you said, similar to if you look at the semiconductor and microchip industry, these or rare earth minerals from China, these are critical industries. The US cannot even survive without these industries. Similarly, India is providing, as you said, 87% of generic pharmaceuticals. All of a sudden, a 50% tariff. And these are some of the most profitable, powerful companies in the world, US pharmaceutical companies. Are they going to really deal with that 50% for the next 3 to 5 years and all of a sudden just implemented 3 weeks ago? These are all political and economic questions and policy questions. Neither me or Dr. Naresh can really answer what is going to happen here in the next 3, 4 weeks. We have no idea. But my guess is something will happen to not have that be there in the coming weeks or months. That's my guess, my prediction. But let's see what actually happens. We don't know.
Yeah, I would say don't be panicked. I think this is not going to be long term, and it's only a political right word to say,
Agreed.
and
Yeah.
it's definitely not feasible business model with a 50% tariff. And yeah, Rohit, that's definitely we are waiting for that. And just I want to add on that, we already see that there is the impact of tariff from other markets like China. Already they imposed last 4 months, 4 to 5 months. We've been seeing that, but industry is very clever. We always find the alternate routes
Right.
to. I mean, whether there is a possible, I can't speak out here, but people are
Right.
trying to do the ways to do the business. That's
Yeah.
how the expertise. They're all in the
Same.
industry for a long time.
Yeah,
They know
yeah,
ways to do.
they're exactly what you said. Everyone figures out ways, everyone's very clever. The ways that I am dealing with the tariff, I'm not going to say it here on this recorded line,
True,
but
true.
there are ways to deal with it, and you can take that offline with either of us.
Exactly.
Let's
Only thing I would say that this is not going to close the doors. We still will be there, and then we'll work on that. Yes. And I missed one point to say that
Sure.
we talked about the regulatory, about the nutraceutical. We talked about both the US and Canada. I know many people must be having a question here. I also add this business answer. Should we enter into nutraceutical market or not? I would conclude that in one word. The industry is growing every year 4 to 5%, and there is still space for nutraceutical market. And of course, pharmaceutical is always there, but I'm not talking about pharmaceutical here. There is a many big pharma. You have to deal with the big elephants in the room. But when it comes to the nutraceutical industry, the beautiful is there is directly you can handle. You can reach out to the consumer if your product has right strength, right claims, right quality, right science behind it. You can build a brand, beautiful brand, and there is a huge opportunity for the people who work with passionately. Definitely good opportunity. And the day to day, the people lifestyle changing a lot, and there is a requirement of supplements is more, and then people dependency on the supplements is very high. And especially after COVID, we see that there is a huge change in the lifestyle. So, in other words, I would say pharmaceutical is a therapeutic medication.
Hmm.
Nutraceutical is a preventive medication. And because of the social media, there is a lot of health awareness, and people started taking this preventive care, and it is growing every year 4 to 5% the market data.
And if we're looking at the Indian manufacturing perspective, for what are the regional hubs of nutraceutical manufacturing? Are there certain areas of India that are more strong in that? Hyderabad, Uttarakhand, or where are these things being made?
It in the beginning days, 10 years ago, those people who knows how to do the pharmaceutical, they started doing this nutraceutical. But now, the widespread people like you are connecting and then giving the. I mean, people things used to think, oh, I cannot export into US, but now they know that there is a way. People like you are making it is possible, and everywhere I see that. But there is a huge suppliers from Himachal Pradesh and Ahmedabad,
Hmm.
Mumbai, Hyderabad, but also coming up from a lot of places, small places, and also availability of the ingredients.
Hmm.
So Himachal Pradesh has a lot of Ayurvedic ingredient
Right.
cultivation. That's the reason there is a lot of You know, there is a product called Senna. Senna tablets people use
Oh,
for
okay, right,
constipation.
right, right. Yes, yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I've seen
I
that
would
in all
say,
the
I don't know.
constipation products. They have constipation teas and thing, and it'll say
Yes. Yeah.
senna leaf,
Senna leaf, Senna
right?
leaf. I don't know. I don't have right in the market exact data, but I would say in my experience, 80% of the Senna grows in Himachal Pradesh.
Madhya Pradesh.
And then you see any product in the shelves in US market or Canada market is coming from Himachal Pradesh.
Hmm. Hmm.
So,
Interesting.
well, we can talk in depth about it, but let's move on to the cosmeceutical, which is
Yeah.
another upcoming
Right.
space.
And actually, let's define that first because before I had my conversations with you before this call, I didn't even not even know the word cosmeceutical. I didn't know that was a word. So let's define cosmeceutical versus cosmetic.
It's a cosmetic is well-known word. Cosmeceutical is ceutical, pharmaceutical, nutraceutical. Ceutical is something that is. I'm not going into the English meanings, but let's differentiate. Cosmetics is something that cosmetics is makeup and all those things. People use it. Probably that's the right word. But cosmeceutical is skin care, something that is care. Something, as I said, nutraceutical is a preventive care. Also, your skin conditioning, skin care, and then preventing some of the skin disorders. That's a skin care. A lot of skin care happening, and that's cosmeceutical is coming up really well because, as I said, people are very anti-aging. Is one
Oh
of
yeah,
the
yeah.
popular cosmeceutical word. You see that, and then skin conditioning, sunscreens, and baby skin care, women skin care, menopausal skin care. Lot of ways. The space is very huge and creative. The new cosmeceutical. So let me put it the other way. The difference from nutraceutical is anything that is not orally taken,
Mm,
but something that is applied topically and for the improvement of skin condition, for the betterment of your skin care,
mm.
is you can call it as a cosmeceutical. And
Cosmeceutical.
then we see a
And
lot
then
of serums.
to be called a cosmeceutical, does it have to have an active ingredient?
Yes.
It has to have
So
active. Okay.
yes, so FDA and both Health Canada, for Canadian market Health Canada, and then when it comes to the health US, it's FDA. Both regulate these markets, and they have a database of ingredients. If your ingredients are falling under this database, then your product is qualified as a cosmeceutical.
Cosmeceutical, which is now more regulated than a regular cosmetic. Is that
True,
okay?
true. So again, Canada is the first one to have these regulations for last decade. Canada has been regulating this market space heavily for last decade or more than a decade. And then we know that FDA wanted to do that for a long time. Finally, they made it possible in 2022
Hmm.
and they came up with the new regulations. So let me explain first the Canadian market, then
Sure.
they'll understand what happened in US. So again, when you want to import a product into Canadian market, you need two things, your facility and your product for a cosmeceutical. So your facility should have a GMP manufacturing procedures, but you don't need any approvals. So you should practice, you self-confirm that you are practicing GMP, should have the documentation. You may ask a question. So if you self-confirm means I can say I'm practicing. What if I'm not practicing? Well, it is important. You need to have all the documentation about your products and then your facility. And when there is a recall, when the issue happens, you should be you're accountable to provide all those documentation. And two, when even if your regulatory agencies are not monitoring you, your importers want to see your documentation. So it is
Exactly.
better to it is you must and it's mandatory to have your GMP in place. Okay, and then product, it's not a huge regulatory process, it's a very simple process. You make sure that your label is in compliance with the Health Canada regulations. The label should be in bilingual for Canada market for cosmeceutical. By the way, even for nutraceutical it should be bilingual. So the label should be bilingual. There are certain elements on the label should be
By
present. You
that
should
by that you mean it needs English and French.
French, correct.
Canada.
And
Okay.
then all the ingredients should be under the acceptable category. And then you submit this label and the ingredient information to Health Canada. It used to be very quick in 6 weeks, but now it is taking 3 to 4 months. But if your ingredients are not complex, it is very quick. they're changing the process now. It's very ambiguity, but I would say anywhere from a week to 3 months it takes the regulatory process. Once you submit your documentation means your label and ingredient list, quantity of ingredients, you will receive a number called cosmetic number, CN.
Mm.
Once you have a cosmetic number, you can import the product into Canada. Again, you can import by yourself on your brand, or you can manufacture and you can supply to another importer in Canada. That's a Canadian process. Until 2022, there is no such any process in US. Anybody can manufacture, and then the FDA has certain label standards. If you follow those standards, you can import. And then of course, FDA monitor the market, and if there is any ingredients that is not correct, they recall the product.
Okay.
And that is gone widely, and then there is a lot of misuse happening. So regulatory bodies now, health FDA started importing a new regulations. It's
Okay.
called the MOCRA,
Okra.
Modernization of Cosmetic Regulation Act.
Okay.
The MOCRA came into effect in 2022 July, and then they gave some time for every cosmeceutical product to convert under MOCRA. So what happens in the MOCRA? You need to have two approvals under MOCRA. MOCRA for your facility, MOCRA for your product. Okay, so first you need to have a facility registration under MOCRA, and it is pretty simple, not a complex process, but you need to have your GMP in place, and then you need to submit certain information in the FDA database. You get the MOCRA registration number. That is for your facility. It is annually renewal. You need to do that. To do this process, again, you need a cosmeceutical FDA agent.
Okay.
Again, we
Which
can
is
support you with all
you
those
can you can
processes.
support that. Okay. All right.
Yes, we can support you. And once you have this facility approved, and then the product, like I said, for Canada, similarly now for US also under MOCRA, you need to submit your label. FDA has certain label standards you need to follow. Prepare the label with the right format of FDA and submit the label as well as the ingredients. And then you will get a MOCRA registration number for your product. Once you have the MOCRA registration for your facility as well as for your product, you can start importing into US. And again, you can import your brand into US and distribute with the help of people like you,
Right.
fulfillment centers. That's what very commonly happening. I'm proud to see a lot of Indian brands by themselves are distributing in US and Canada
I
with the
agree.
help, because remotely they're monitoring, they're operating remotely from India. And some big brands also take your services like Sephora. I'm just throwing the big names, but even brands like Walgreens or Walmart, Costco, they all are trying to get this sourcing from India because it's cost effective.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about. I mean, just that's kind of going into a different direction, but is the reason so many foreign companies come into India for the cosmetic, cosmeceutical, nutraceutical, is the quality is good and we are getting the price much less than they can make in their own country? Is that the value proposition?
Both, yes. You know, end of the day, it's a very competitive market.
Right.
People are running the businesses with very narrow margins. So when there is such a narrow margin, we always look for a better opportunity to do a lower cost. Yet we don't want to compromise the quality. So I always tell my clients in India, please don't cut the corners because they are not just coming for lower cost.
Correct. Yeah,
Lower cost at the
they
same
need
quality.
they need that quality.
Quality because end of the day, many big brands, they don't have. So there is another thing. As for regulations, you don't have to write for nutraceutical world. You don't have to write where it is being manufactured.
Oh,
So, so big brands, they manufacture in this part of the world and then import it here. And so they are they sound like American brand, but they're manufacturing in India or other places. So that means they don't want to compromise the quality,
mm,
yet they will be able to get the better pricing, right?
mm,
So that's important. And then cosmeceutical world, you still have to write where it is being manufactured.
mm.
That's why some big brands that are still trying to manufacture in US, but they are not able to get the right pricing. Now I see that a lot of big brands are having conversations from Indian manufacturers.
Yeah.
Last 2 years, I see that a lot of cosmeceutical manufacturers coming up very well. The only the that area that we don't have enough strength is R&D for cosmeceutical.
Hmm.
So that is also coming up. Few brands I launched recently, they have a good R&D, and then they were able to manufacture sample.
Are there,
That is a huge feature.
just to touch off what you just said there, are there regional hubs for cosmeceutical manufacturing? Like we were saying before, Uttarakhand for nutraceutical, is there a cosmeceutical hub or is it all over pan India?
I I'm not any partial, but I see probably because I have my clients, bunch of my clients coming from that area. I see a lot of companies coming from Noida and
Noida,
Chandigarh. Chandigarh.
Chandigarh. Okay.
Yes, I've seen most of them in North American, in Uttarakhand, and and perhaps because cosmeceutical is something more of a modern
Modern.
product
Right. True.
and not a classical way, classical product. So that's why it is not taken by any of this classical industry, but some passionate industry is taking up. So I saw a bunch of companies coming from Delhi, near around Delhi.
Delhi.
Yeah,
Can we take some time here? So many questions. Can we
I
take some
see
time to
that.
go through some people's questions here?
So I see that a lot of questions coming. I would say I'm happy to answer anybody any question, and the time limits. Anybody, if there is a valid question, they can reach out to me. I think you already shared my email, and then
Yeah.
I'm happy to offer, because that is one thing that excites me, is always to support the Indian companies coming into U.S. market, Canadian market, because that brings not only the right product but also culturally a lot of I am happy to see that Shilajit coming here, Ashwagandha coming here. You see how Ashwagandha is leading the market, how turmeric is leading the market.
Right.
6 7 years ago, when we are working on these products, it was like, can we introduce this product to this
Right.
market? But it's amazing. So I'm happy to support. That's one of my passion, that converting Ayurvedic products into the right dosing, and that's one of my expertise. So later, if we cannot answer every question, I'm happy to answer if they reach out to me in my email.
Yeah.
But please share a paragraph about your business model. That helps me, and then I can offer 30 minutes free consultation time.
Yeah. No, thank you so much for offering that. And to share the email, we're in a private call right now anyway. So the the email is Naresh at tvrfarm.com.
Form
Yeah.
TVRPH.com.
tvrpharm.com. You guys, so you have the email there, Naresh at tvrfarm.com. If you
Yeah,
wanted an individual consult, the request there is that when you send that email, please give a paragraph introduction about your business model, your company. I would also include any links so he can take Dr. Naresh can take a look at what you built so far, and then if there's anything that can be done there, then you guys can take that offline. I wanted to
sure.
take a minute to go through some common themes. So,
As I said to you, Rohit, a few last week, we are picking up pharmaceutical, nutraceutical, cosmeceutical, and food. There are huge topics for regulatory compliance and quality, and for both US and Canada markets. And then we are not yet talking about Europe markets. If there is any more interest, next time probably we can pick up a specific topic, and then we
yeah,
can start a seminar series.
I agree.
I'm pretty sure it's very informative for all of us. We share the questions, challenges, and then we discuss.
Okay, one very key question which a lot of people have on their mind, and I know, for example, that we have some companies like this in the export circle as well. Let's say you're an entrepreneur in India, you're a trading company, you have established strong relationships with, let's say, multiple nutraceutical, cosmeceutical factories. You yourself, as a business entity, are not a factory. Is there scope for you to act as a middleman between foreign clients in the US and Canada and the Indian factories, and you're you're facilitating those business relationships? You yourself are, again, not a factory, and you're trying to get the foreign clients to give the business to the Indian factories. Is, in your opinion, is that a valid business model for nutraceutical, cosmeceutical?
It is very smart business model, and people are doing it because a lot of big brands in US and Canada don't want to go and shop around for these factories. They want to look for a point of contact where they handle everything and make this process smooth. So that's why few people in India selectively choose some factories and have some products developed with their knowledge. In fact, I myself developed that. Having my a lot of Indian clients, they speak to me, Naresh, I have this facility. Can we do something? I look at that and okay, if I could depend on them, if I see that they have right GMP, and then we developed some products with their R&D team and then manufacturing team. I took the samples and then introduced to a few brands, and then I'm like a trading company or introduced, okay, this brand sources from this manufacturer, and the manufacturer has no big responsibility of brand development. They just want to be a contract manufacturer,
Right.
but they get the volumes of business.
Right.
And I always tell these manufacturers, please hold the same quality from the first batch to the 100th batch. Then once you find a brand like Kirkland, everybody knows the brand. Once you get, I was talking to a company from Bangalore. They are supplying the rice to Kirkland. I'm not saying the names. Now he says that, Naresh, I don't have any more SAM product to supply to you. Whole my factory is occupied, and I become a single supplier. I have only one client now, Kirkland.
Right.
Isn't it good? You can sleep happily. You don't have to look for no business. But he has to hold that quality.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And he has to make all the deadlines and timelines. Yeah.
You have to make things smooth, but they come for audit. Such big
So,
brands.
so in many ways, that question that I just asked, is there is there scope to run a business as a merchant exporter trading company within pharma, nutraceutical, cosmeceutical? It's in many ways a business model that you yourself are operating, your company. Is that true?
We are we are operating. I'm
Yeah.
operating and I'm supporting, and then I limit myself for the conflict of sometimes if I'm.
Right.
But I definitely guide every manufacturer, and as I said, every business model is different.
Yeah.
And my expertise is from the sourcing the right ingredient, manufacturing,
Right.
labeling, packaging, and choosing right packaging, right branding, and bringing into the market, right regulations, product approvals, facility approvals. So in this process, at any point, if you need support, I'm supporting. For
Right.
some brands, I'm supporting from A to Z, and then bringing them here. So it's a one good thing is that always my client says, I'm not saying that I'm the only one available here, but when I'm working with you in the product development, I know what are the challenges you have when you launch this product. So when you're working at the step A, I know what is the challenge in step Z, so that you will not make those mistakes in step, so that you don't have to go back and redo the product. So that's one thing I support definitely. Yeah,
So
to answer your question in short way, yes, it is.
yeah,
There is opportunity
right.
if
There
somebody
is
want to come with it. Yes,
there's opportunity. A problem is being solved because, as you said, the foreign client a lot of times simply wants their product made. They don't want to necessarily deal with all the local nuances of operating in India, developing contacts. If a trading company like your company or if someone else had any local regional contacts approaches that foreign client and is basically able to solve all these problems for them, we can get your product manufactured, we can do all the labeling, we can do this and that, and that's a value proposition for the foreign company. A problem is being solved, and they don't necessarily have an issue. They don't necessarily need to deal directly with the factory. They can deal with a person in between also.
agree. Yeah, that's exactly what he said. Again,
So
he said it's only beginning of this industry. It's only
yeah,
beginning of this
only
industry.
the beginning of this industry. Key word there, guys. Only the beginning of this industry. As Naresh said, you have growth every year in all of these categories. Cosmeceutical, people are trying to look better and better. They're more image conscious than ever. I've seen that in my own brand that I operate a cosmetic brand called Hair Defense. In the entire COVID, we never lost sales. In all the economic downturns, we kept growing because people still care about how they look. It's been a growth category. We never had, unlike my other. That's one thing I learned during COVID about cosmetic products. You're Some of these things never go down, even in a down economy, because even when you have less money, you still care about how you look, and that's it's a top priority for people. And
That's what I said.
you still care about your health. You still will
Correct.
make moves in a nutraceutical products, in categories that are children's, mothers, old age, anti-aging. you don't have any money in your pocket, you're still going to spend on your car, your house, your health, and how you look. That is not going to go away.
The preventive medication become a basic need.
Exactly. Basic need. Basic
Basic
need.
need. It become
Yeah.
basic need.
And you're totally right
Uh,
about the change in
some of
consumer behavior.
some of my good friends in the industry, they say that in 1980s, when they launched vitamin C, the beginning days of vitamins, people think, oh, are you going to eat the chemicals instead of eating the fresh food? But now there is no human being without taking a vitamin. At least it's 80% of the community,
Yeah.
population. Yeah.
Okay, let's go through some other questions here as well. Um, do you have any exposure or information on the Australian market and how that market operates? Any different idea, any different way it operates compared to the US and Canada, like you
Yeah.
described?
So Australian market is I have a partner who takes care of my clients there. I can definitely refer there, and I handle some of my clients for Australian market. The only biggest challenge is Australian market to launch any product there. You need to have a local partner.
Hmm.
So being said that, when I'm straight to the answer, is it worth? You assess, because that is very costly to have a local partner. We launched a few products. If your volumes are big, Australia is a very small market compared to US. So if it is a really good product and if it makes good volumes, then it's worth going there. We can connect you. So now my partner there started a new model saying that you don't need to worry about a local partner because it's a very mandatory requirement, and then we act as your local partner. So, but they charge you some money, and you need to work on those numbers. Is it worth for you to take care of the business there? And the regulatory process is similar to Canadian model, not like US.
Got it. Okay, so Sharon, that the response in response to your question about the Australian market, regulatory environment is similar to Canada. Any further question, you can email Naresh and he can
And
refer you there to
and
Canadian
and I'm
market.
referring to Nutraceutical. This the information
Okay,
is regarding Nutraceutical.
okay. Um, Hardy's question: how long does it typically take an OTC drug such as acetaminophen to get approved by the US FDA if the plant is already approved compared to a prescription drug? Do you
Good
understand?
question. We did not talk about the topic pharmaceutical. Again, in the pharmaceutical, there are two categories:
Right.
prescription, non-prescription,
Okay.
which is a OTC, non-prescription. It shouldn't take more than few months if you have a facility approved, and especially the again in the OTC, there are two categories: monograph, non-monograph. Acetaminophen is a monograph product. For monograph products, yes, we it's pretty quick,
What
and
does that mean? What does monograph and non-monograph mean?
so historically, if the product is known
Known product. Okay.
and safety has been built.
Okay.
So acetaminophen, which is a paracetamol in India,
Right. Understood.
FDA knows that for more than 50 years that it's a safe ingredient. So then they issued a certain monograph saying that if you manufacture this product with this dose, this format, within this range, it is acceptable. You don't need to do any other additional toxicology studies or safety studies. So that's there is a fundamental there is a there is a format. If you follow that format, you don't need to worry. Just you get the approval easily. It's only administrative process. But some products they are OTC, but their safety is not yet established. So for such products, you may have to go and provide some toxicology studies. Some of these. I'm trying to give you an example. You know, some of the cough syrups or some of the family planning drugs, some of those things.
We have another. There's another question. Amit, is your question regarding the one you have your hand raised for? Is that the tableware question? I'm not sure if Naresh is gonna know anything about that.
I see that a lot of products, people are talking about specifically about the products, which is very commonly I see that. They can reach out to me specifically about the product. If they can share the product label, I can give you a better answer. Let's talk more of a general questions, which is helpful for everybody.
Yeah. Amit, I don't think Dr. Naresh is gonna know anything about Areca tableware. You're not gonna know. That right. Okay. This is a good question from Parag. If a Canadian or U.S. company already has the necessary nutraceutical licenses, does it, and if a so if you're a trading company supplying that US or Canadian company, do you yourself as a trading company need the licenses,
No,
or you can use it of the factory that you're cooperating with, right?
correct.
But
Correct.
and then in doing that you also reveal that factory, right?
You have to.
You have to reveal
That's
it.
a good
Okay.
question, Rohit. That's the challenge we come across recently, especially in the food market. We see that very often. We did not talk about the food. That's a huge topic for Canada. Especially recently, they started a safe food certification of Canada, SFC, safe food certification, that brought a lot of regulations and then very stringent process, and then made. But people say, oh, it is difficult to get there, but it is good to go there because when the regulations are very high, you don't have a huge competition
I 100% agree with you.
and
That,
you have
that
a
is,
healthy business model
yeah.
and nobody can push you, and also your importer or your customer does not change the supplier very
Yeah.
easily.
Because they not just every random guy and exporter in India can be his supplier.
Correct.
You have to be, and that's a very, very important point that you brought up, that these all these industries we're talking about in this call, pharma, nutraceutical, cosmeceutical, food, medical devices, these are all regulated. Is that a reason not to get into it? It's actually a reason to get into it,
Get in there.
because
That's the safest business.
it's the safest. Because if you're a sophisticated business person, you're a sophisticated business, you are now putting a barrier in between you and
Yes.
99% of Indian manufacturers and exporters, because you took it upon yourself to do these registrations, test reports, all these compliances you're talking about. This is all a barrier. Not
Yes.
every random guy that just graduated his BTech can get into this product. You can do that with clothing. You can do that with so many of these housewares and handicrafts. Yeah, every guy can get it. Every person can get into those. But these are regulated categories. You need to be smart. You need to operate sophisticated. You need to have some base of capital to invest. A little bit basic investment is needed here in
Correct.
these compliances and regulatory compliances, which is actually a good thing. Like exactly
Good
what you
thing.
said. This is a good
I'll
thing.
give you I'll give you a good example, Rohit. I'm not going to say the brand name.
Sure.
I have at least 100+ guys reached out to me. I supply ashwagandha to you. I will supply ashwagandha to you, which is very common. I'm very proud of it. Indians know ashwagandha how to grow. But there is one brand who is a who grow the plants in Ahmedabad,
Mm.
extract it in Hyderabad. They are a billion-dollar company with one ingredient,
Ashwagandha.
ashwagandha.
Wow.
I don't tell the brand name, but you walk into any brand, Walmart, CVS, Walgreen, Kirkland, at least top 50 brands in US
Or private
uses that
labeled
in,
by private labeled by
uses that
that guy.
ingredient. And what they did is they branded the ingredient. So next time when you go to Walmart or Wellness, turn the bottle and see the ingredient name. You know the company what I'm talking about. That's okay. I'm not promoting the company, guys. There is so one last thing to conclude what you said. Exactly, I agree with you. Um, when you are a supplier to a brand, they are not sticking with you not just for the price.
Mm.
There are many people. 98% of the people could supply better pricing than you, but there are only 2% of the guys who could supply with the pricing and the compliance. But that is the differentiating factor why your customer should stick on to you. Yes. So
And
that's why.
just to add to that, what about service? Thoughts
Oh,
on,
yes.
right?
Response, the communication is where it's very good. Communication wise, I don't have any complaints with Indian companies. They're really good. We are only the problem is all the documents comes in the WhatsApp, not in the email.
That's so true. Okay. Oh, that's a great point you made. So
Yeah.
price they can get anywhere.
Price.
They are looking for their, yes, they might want to meet a certain target price, but you want quality and the compliance coupled with, as you said, the service. You think Indian exporters are doing pretty good on the service part. but the compliance is where you can stand out by going, working with professionals like you. You can figure out these complicated regulatory frameworks, establish yourself, and now you have all you need, guys, is basic education, a little bit of capital, a little bit of some investment here to get going and navigate these regulatory frameworks, be in categories that are harder to enter. There's more of a barrier there between you and 99% of other people entering this business.
Locking the client is only by quality and compliance.
Mhm.
So I have done a lot of importation for exactly what you said, that tradesmen. I introduced many manufacturers to my clients here because I often get I help a lot of Canadian US companies for the registration of the products and site. They all say, Naresh, our product is getting very costly. Can you find a source in India? Can you source this? Okay, I'll source it for you. But sometimes I burn my hands, but yeah, no complaints. I don't sound negative generally. So, but we are doing well. End of the day, it's sustaining the business in your hands by controlling the quality.
There's a good question. A lot of conversation was sparked by what you just said about ashwagandha. So how expensive and how long are clinical trials? If you wanted to verify, let's say, an Ayurvedic ingredient via clinical trials, how expensive is that? How long does that take? Could you speak about that?
Yes. So, nutraceutical world, supplement world, there is no mandatory requirement, but people are doing it because that is a differentiating factor. When I go to a store, so other thing, prescription drugs, pharmaceutical drugs, you don't have a choice of making the brand. You get a prescription from your doctor, you go to pharmacy, pharmacist dispense whatever the brand that he is selling in his store, depending on what margins he get from the manufacturer. So consumer does not make the decision on the brand that is required that he uses in the pharma world. But in the cosmeceutical or in the nutraceutical world, let's talk about the nutraceutical world to answer your question. Consumer walk into the store, look into the shelf, I want to buy ashwagandha. Which ashwagandha should I buy? Consumer make the decision. So when you go into the store, you have a few brands. How you differentiate yourself from the remaining brands sitting next to you in the shelf? By showing some evidence, clinical evidence, some accreditations, some additional things that you could offer. Apart from, people are ready to pay a few bucks extra if you have some extra assurance of the quality. Especially in this part of the world, Western world, dollar is not a big factor. Quality is the factor. Of course, always dollar important, but it's not the only factor. Consumer makes the decision. So that's where all these ingredient companies gone a step ahead, perform the clinical studies. I'm saying that ashwagandha is good for sleep or stress relief. Everybody says that because scientific data available. But did I test my product? That's what people are doing it. It is not expensive. It is not so complicated as a pharmaceutical studies. You can do a simple, two-arm study with a few subjects, 20 plus subjects, and doesn't cost you more than 10 grand. And beauty is there are many Indian CROs, clinical research organizations came up.
Mm,
They are doing really good from Mumbai.
mm,
I see a lot of companies from Mumbai and Bangalore.
mhm.
They're doing these studies. So you don't have to do it in the Western world, do it in India. So India has every category to cater to develop a product.
Wow. Okay,
Formulation,
I love what you just said there. So, okay,
yes.
question number one, if someone wanted to take an ingredient and wanted to do clinical trials on it and get the paperwork for that, is that something your company can help with?
True, of course,
Okay,
yes.
good.
Uh,
That's step number one there, guys, if you wanted to go further in this, because it's a really interesting business model and it's proven by a brand that we will not name. And okay, the second thing, could you say a little bit more? So these CROs are, could you explain that a little bit more?
so
These,
the CROs, they take your product and then you say that, hey, this is my product. I want to test for sleep.
okay.
They write the protocol for you as required because any clinical research that should be statistically effective, it should be validated, right?
Yeah.
Should have right controls, right data, and statistically significant the data. So they calculate depending on your model, sleep, okay, how many subjects, how many parameters. Suppose you're talking about the diabetic. So for diabetic, you have directly you take the blood, you test the sugar quantity. But when it comes to the sleep, there is only subjective, right?
Mm.
So that's the protocol differs. Based on the protocol, they determine how many subjects you need, and then they plan the study. They take your sample, they do it. They do it within 6 weeks easily. They're doing it in 6 weeks,
6 weeks.
and depends on
Yeah, right.
it depends on what claim you're asking for. If you're asking for a weight management, so that's a big factor. It takes 6 months to show results. Suppose your product, then you have to wait for 6 months. But mostly, some of the products within 4 weeks they see that show the results. So and it's very cost effective. Suppose same product we were trying to do a few years ago in US for $60,000.
Mhm.
We were able to do this product in India less than 10 grand. Again, don't take me this as a
Right.
standard price. It's subject to the what type of product, what regulatory requirements you have, what markets you are looking for, what claims you are looking for. And suppose if you ask you for diabetic drug, testing a sugar in a blood is very less expensive in India. But if I'm doing some big parameter which costs a lot in blood tests, that adds on the cost. But it's doable. Anything is a subjective to the what type of product you're doing. Contact me. We can work on that.
Okay. Okay, Juhi, I think that kind of answers your question that you just add there. So when you when you make a claim, can you just to clarify on a like a nutraceutical, cosmeceutical, let's say you make a claim, do you don't necessarily need a clinical trial to make that claim, or do you need the clinical trial? Or it
It
depends on the claim.
depends.
All right, you might know more about my question.
Yes, yes. It's always there is no straight answer for this because uh, you take claim a product ingredient. Is there a historical expertise, historical experience in the market? Is there enough research has been done? Has it been recognized by FDA? Such claims are very easy,
Mm.
and you can go ahead and make those claims. Something that is nobody made the claim, not much established data, then you may have to go and prove that. And then there is another level which I did not speak here because it brings you a new topic called an NDI, new dietary ingredient. So you come up with a grandma recipe which is an ingredient never used. You want to bring that into the shelf and you be the first one into the market. That's what very often happen. Then FDA don't accept directly because oh this is I never had any safety data available. I don't know that the claim that you're making that works.
Mm.
Then you do the studies for such products. If we call them new dietary ingredient, you need to do the clinical evaluation, you need to do the safety data and submit to FDA. FDA approves that for new dietary ingredient. But some of the vitamins, they are established and we know that their claims are established.
Got it.
Such claims you can adopt from the market.
Got it. Okay. I think Juhi, that should fully answer your question there. Thank you for that response. That's perfect. One more question here, again from Hardy. Do you help small scale clinical studies for cosmeceutical, nutraceutical ingredients, and the manufacturer wants to put certain claims? I think the answer is yes, right? You can.
Answer is yes. I don't do that, but you know what? I don't want to sound like a Wikipedia, but I have the contacts
Right.
being in the industry for a long time. So
Right.
you talk to me, hey, I don't, it's most of the time this is what I do. If somebody comes to me, I want to manufacture. Okay, I have a guy. Oh, I want to do the studies. I know, okay, sometimes, liquids, tablets, capsules, or cream, depending on what is the product. Everybody has a category specializations. And also in this journey, we have validated who is right worth to partner with and
Right.
maybe
Exactly.
for.
Validation, trusted supplier. I mean, as you guys know, those of you who are in the export circle, half my response to a lot of your questions now is okay, go ask Amit or go ask Mayank or go ask Hardy, because there we all develop expertise, we develop relationships
Relationships.
over time, and they're battle tested, so you know the ones that are working, not working, responsive, not responsive. So exactly what you said there. I wanted to spend a little bit like the last 10 minutes here because there's so much chatter right now in the chat, and over in the questions as well. So many people have talked about Ayurveda. What's your opinion if we look at Ayurvedic products as a category? Is that a global growth category? Not in India, but outside India, do you see that category growing, flat, decreasing? What's going on with Ayurveda?
It just started because a lot of attention for the natural health, natural health, and when 8 years ago, when somebody got turmeric into the market, I was laughing. I eat turmeric every day, being an Indian family at home in the curry. I was like, no, and Western world, do they accept it as an anti-inflammatory product? When we encapsulate it, that is one of the top selling product for continuously for 3 years. So then ashwagandha, then now shilajit, I see that. So what people are looking at is, do I have any alternative natural product instead of taking the synthetic drug? Do I have a good sleep aid natural product instead of taking the pill, the sleeping pill? So any stress relief, weight management. So like, there is some product, Ozempic,
Right.
huge word in the world. Now I see the last 1 year, a lot of natural ingredients started comparing this Ozempic and trying to see, who knows, probably in a couple of years we'll have a natural replacement for that.
Mm.
So there is a future, and take the right ingredient with the right claim. The only thing, a challenge I see that many people could not sustain in the market is these natural extracts do not have a proper standardization when you extract
Standardization.
it. So
Okay.
you take today ashwagandha with vinthanides, you get some 12%, 18%. Next batch, you get 11%. Next batch, you get 20%. Everywhere. But you have to standardize the process. That means it's not just extracting. You need to do a proper R&D because you're not taking just the raw material. You are standardizing the dose.
Mm.
So establish that, then it's very easy. That is the biggest challenge. A lot of Ayurveda is not coming into the market, but now the pharma companies entered here. They know the how to standardize this.
Mhm.
You're not just extracting, but you're standardizing and dosing right way. And we are getting
Such a
there, and
such a critical point there. So
it
many people
is.
can do this, but the key is standardization because the consumer, especially in a Western scenario, or even if we take the Japanese market, they want the same thing every time, same dose, right? You,
That's what GMP.
yeah, you have to have standardization there, and so uh, I guess to do that, how would someone do that? Ask you separately, right? That's his whole
That's a
right.
see. It's not a see. Many people think that no disrespect. Oh, I know how to extract.
Hmm,
Yes, in the kitchen also I can extract it.
hmm, hmm,
But the standardization, the quality, that's what the GMP. What is a GMP? Many people ask me. I don't tell you the classical answer. I tell you one example. Today I bought acetaminophen. In India we call paracetamol, or in US Tylenol, which we often buy.
hmm,
Next year again I buy the same Tylenol. Next year I buy the same Tylenol from the store, from different stores. Wherever I buy the Tylenol that has the same effect, that is treating me, that's how I'm depending on. I'm buying this my skincare cream from different stores, Avino cream, suppose Nivea cream. It doesn't matter where you buy it, when you buy a different batch, but has the same consistency, same quality, same texture. How is it possible? They manufacture these products under good manufacturing practices. So
hmm.
that means they have a proper formulation, the proper validation, proper documentation. So I don't just do by myself. Today I'm working in the lab, I develop this product. Next week my colleague does the same product. Still have the same standard because they don't follow personal opinion there. They follow the documentation.
Documentation. Do you think if we're talking about Ayurveda and if we're looking at key export markets like Europe, Canada, the US, Australia, is any of these higher growth than the other? Maybe should target more than the other?
There is a topic I don't want to bring now because that takes another hour. There is something called, see, this is always a hybrid model comes up. There is a pharmaceutical world, there is the dietary supplement. Then there is a middle one called the functional supplements, like, supplements with the claims for the some diseases like diabetes, blood pressure, weight management. So they are replacing the pharmaceutical.
Mm,
to some extent. Not replacing, probably they are helping.
mhm,
Instead of taking the pharmaceutical drug, you're going with the nutraceutical drug. Now, instead of taking the nutraceutical, there is something called the functional foods coming up. That means you're not taking the vitamin A, B, C, D supplement, but you're taking a morning smoothie, a food, or a pizza or a food that gives you not only the food but also some supplementation. So this is called the food supplement.
mm.
That's the new term coming up. And to answer your question, which market is ahead? I love US market that in that context because US market has a different culture because it comes with the civilian. Something that one thing I noticed in my experience, US is always open to try new and easy to introduce the new product because this is not something a jacket or a shoe to use a big influencer and make this popular, but this is something orally you're taking for your health, so it's not easy to convince the human unless you have a right story, right data. But if you have both, I saw that in intuition getting into the market in US is much easier and it's much faster. And last thing I want to say, when we launch a product in US and Canada, both markets, and Europe, we see that cost is not a factor in US if it has the right story.
Got it. Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and again within US, a lot of dynamics. You know very well where I'm launching. Am I launching in Southern West, or am I launching in California or New York? The pricing. Yeah, but US is a big market for sure, in my
Right.
opinion.
Right. We're coming into the close here, but we had some questions. Do you have any thoughts on pharmaceutical, nutraceutical for the African continent? Any thoughts there?
So Indian companies are that already the leaders in African continent. I saw some of your videos you made it because Africa and Caribbean markets. I do heavily in the Caribbean markets for my clients, and in fact, my company itself in Caribbean market for supplying. So in that markets, I work as a same thing what you mentioned as a trade company. So I source from India and market it there, my brand, and of course, there is no conflict, but there is a huge opportunity. But one thing, keep watching next 5 years. Those markets is the we are talking supplement and cosmeceutical.
Yeah, let's do
These two are preventive care. They're decision made by the consumer,
that.
and they are not required. They are not mandatory need, but they are by choice. So the by choice, when you're purchasing a product, that's always tagged with economical status. So if there is affordability in the society, then these products has opportunity. So in next 5 years, you see a lot of supplement industry growing in these markets, African market.
Mm.
Pharmaceutical already there because in all those countries, the pharmaceutical industry is through tender process. Government supplies it, and then a lot of Indian big pharma supply 98% of those medications. So, or maybe 100% in some countries. I would say.
Last question, I think very relevant to a lot of people. Question comes from Marlone. If you were a sourcing agent, trading company, you don't have any connections with good pharma or nutraceutical factories. Let's suppose you're now Dr. Naresh Thumati, year one, straight out of PhD. How how are you going to find those factories that you trust? How would you go about networking all over again if you had to do that now in 2025? Finding good factory partners that you can trust.
So, best option is expos. There are a lot of pharmaceutical expos, and there is one happening in October in CPHI in Frankfurt, which is a global expo. Must attend that. You see, every pharmaceutical company under the sun will come there.
In which country is that in?
This year. It is going to be in Frankfurt, Germany. Yeah. So it rotates. Last year it was in Italy. So between Spain, Italy, and Germany, it rotates every. So that is a must for pharmaceutical world. And for dietary supplements, the best is in happens in Anaheim, California, in March. It's called the Expo West. And similarly, there is a ingredient show happens in Vegas in September. So these shows where you meet them suppliers, you meet the manufacturers, you talk to them, you see them in person, and then that's the first level of introduction. You meet them. You meet few hundred companies in the show. So the CPHI, you will see about 18 to 20,000 companies coming there.
Wow.
So it's up to you how many steps you walk a day. But you collect all the next level. See what is your interest, who is manufacturing, and see who is reachable to you. And you filter. You come up with a bunch of, you see that, bunch of business cards coming up from the show. So you come back, do your homework. And then second level, you need to go and visit those sites.
Site visits. Yes.
Yes.
In India.
Yeah. So
Yep.
people used to do in a wrong way. They look at the websites. Websites does not speak what they do. Honestly, no disrespect again,
Don't look at the
because
website.
yeah.
Website
So,
is
but expos, you meet them in person. They come in these expos. They have a stall. They have a samples. They have a product. They have a brochure, and you talk to them. When you talk to them, you understand what is their level of knowledge. Then you gauge it and take it to the next level and do the in my experience, it worked well. Last 12 to 13 years, I never missed the CPHI, and every time meet
CPHI.
them. Yes,
Okay. So guys, we have CPHI in Europe, Expo West in California, and the Las Vegas one, is that Supply Side West? Is that
supply side west.
Supply Side West? Okay, Juhi,
Yeah.
you asked that.
So
Janil, you asked that.
Expo West happens in Anaheim, but there is also Expo East happening in, I think, in Baltimore. That is also a good one. So the
I think
dietary
I
supplement
think it's canceled, that one. I'm not sure. I think
that canceled
the
recently.
same
They
name.
changed the name actually. They changed the name.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But follow these shows and then Cosmeceutical also, there is a lot of shows happening and then packaging company shows happening. Expos are the best place to meet and network and source it.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that advice. So, for those of you who are, let's say you're already in this business or you're looking to expand your network, you have the advice there from Naresh that number one, most important thing, you need to attend these key trade shows. He's given us three here that are very key for these various industries: pharma, nutraceutical, and cosmeceutical. And number two, you need to conduct on-site visits in India, really see what's going on there. Key piece of information there that he gave. Don't just believe what's written on the website. You have to go see with your own eyes. And also, correct me if I'm wrong. That's your opportunity to meet these people and see if
Have to.
you even get along with them. You need to have a good working relationship with these people, right?
True, true. And then, yeah, and always keep, when you're sourcing a product and doing that, one advice I say is keep primary, secondary, and tertiary suppliers, not just one supplier.
Okay. Primary, secondary, and tertiary suppliers.
I don't mind going up to 3 or 4 levels because if I'm supplying, the one thing it's happening very commonly, again, no negativity here. When I'm doing really good, I'm sourcing from a company and supplying here. In this part of the world now, it's easy to find out whom I'm supplying. Internet, you can find out. So I sourced ashwagandha from India. I'm selling it here in a rebranding. And if our sourcing is really good, then immediately whole my business depends on one supplier, right? God knows, in God's forbidden, if something happened technically to the facility, or the relationships change, right? Human relations with the costing and then services, then suddenly your hand arm twisted and you cannot supply anymore. You lose the business, whatever you built it. So always you need to build with the multiple suppliers. Again, it's all types of business models you level up to what scale you are supplying. Every business model is unique. There's no simple general model. If I know one successful one model, I would have made that.
Okay, well, I think we're at time here. I also want to let you have your normal Tuesday work day. It's a Tuesday
No
morning in
problem.
Vancouver, Canada, where you are. I see there are some questions in the chat. I'm gonna leave those if you want to take them with Dr. Naresh separately offline. I'm putting his email and I just put his email in the chat, naresh at tvrfarm.com. I
Yes.
gave it the correct spelling in the chat right now.
Yes.
Again, today, for those of you that joined us late, my guest today on the Export Circle has been Dr. Naresh Thumati, who lives in Vancouver, Canada. He's a scientist, entrepreneur, and founder of his company, TVR Pharmaceuticals, holds a PhD in pharmaceutical sciences from Germany, and has over 20 years of experience in these industries that we talked about today, pharmaceutical, nutraceutical, cosmeceutical. We didn't get to discuss food all that much. We can maybe take that up in a future session. Food, medical devices, health products, all of these industries he's an expert in. Very, very rare to have someone like you here. And I really, really appreciate you
Thank you.
taking out the time to talk to us and give advice to so many. We have so many young Indians on this call. The next generation of Indian manufacturing and export is on this call, and I really appreciate you taking out the time. So many of these people are multiple decades younger than you and me that are taking out the time to be on this call and learn from experts. And those people, especially, are going to take India to some other level in the coming decades. And I think the more knowledge we can pass down from experts like you, who taken the time to study your subject, network in your field, it's just going to take this Indian manufacturing, Indian export, Indian pharma, Indian nutraceutical to another level. The more we knowledge we can share, the more we can network. It's so important to know guys like you. I'm so glad that I found you. Actually, I'm so
It's a
glad that
pleasure.
you got on the call with me, and it's so good to have you in the network. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Rohit, I just want to say thank you. It's my pleasure. I enjoy this. And then one thing you always say, I'm not any rational or anything, but definitely I'm from India. It's my blood. Anything coming from India and being helping and doing really good. And especially these youngsters, when they come, one advice I'd say, it's a great industry. It may look like a struggle in the beginning once you build the brand. And if time permits, I take one more minute.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just one brand. I've done a lot of brands with many companies, myself and my clients. It's part of my job. But passionately, one thing I did it in 2018. One young guy, Indian descent, born here, working in Tesla, he left the job at 24. He just worked for 2 years. If he now he says that if I'm there, I would have been a billionaire with his stocks, but he didn't he don't regret. But 24 years, and then I know his brother. Long story short, in some pharmaceutical investments. So, hey, my brother want to do something heavily. I met this guy. We sat for 3 months every week in Starbucks. We don't have office. He don't have anything except his laptop, and we built one brand. Now that is in every store.
Wow.
But
You
every store in Walmart and
you
Costco.
helped build that brand.
Yes, yes, I'm part of it. It's not TVR Pharma, but it's a part of it. Youngster, but this guy, amazing. That's consistency. There was a 4 years of struggle, and then this guy entered into Dragon's Den
Oh, the this that's like a shark,
investment.
similar to a
Shark
shark.
Tank, that's a Dragon's Den in Canada, and Shark Tank in US and in India. So it's amazing. It's a 9 years of journey. I'm part of this brand, and this guy has no pocket. So you don't need a money to invest, but you need patience and then commitment. Especially for that's my message for youngsters.
Yeah.
So if you want, I don't mind sharing the brand name. No days wasted. Google it. See
No
that.
days wasted.
Yes, it's a detox product.
Yeah. And yeah,
Amazing.
I know we talked a lot about young people, guys, but I can personally see a lot of these names here. I know you're the same age as me or Dr. Naresh. So
Oh, you
to
are
say,
a
not
youngster.
to, not to say that it's only young people that can do this. You just
Anybody.
need, like, as you said, the patience, basic intelligence education just to get past these regulatory things, which all of you on this call have. Just it's just something that you need to navigate. I think it's honestly such. If you look at Indian export as a whole, where do we stand out compared to China, Malaysia? Malaysia has like such strong electronic manufacturing. China is you can make any physical item there. This is actually the sector where we can stand out, and we're actually better than a lot of the other countries. We have a lot of strategic advantages, a lot of infrastructure, and these things are already in place. And that's one of the reasons I asked you that question. Where do you think Ayurveda is right now? And you said it's just the beginning, which is so
It's
interesting.
just a beginning.
So
We might have seen like 10 or 12 products yet only successful in the
yeah,
market, but we know we all grown up with that. How many hundreds of products existing? So only thing,
even this Shilajit is you would not believe how many emails and questions I get on Shilajit and how interested I see in all the trade shows. Like I went to Expo West
Yes.
because it's, you know,
Last exposed to it was
like
a
we had, there's no, in India, we have that negative connotation. Okay, Shilajit is kind of,
yes.
shady. But
True,
if
true,
you pitch that to an American guy, natural Viagra, they're like, okay, sign me up. Where is it? I'll take
true,
it,
true,
right?
true.
No negative connotation. They're all,
True.
if you look at the boom in testosterone, well, when I was 10, 15 years ago, no one checked their
There's
testosterone.
something shady at that time.
Yeah, no one was telling me, oh, my testosterone levels are this. Now I know 3 out of 10 men that I know is getting their testosterone levels checked and things like that. So
Yes.
natural supplementation like Shilajit or like these different Ayurvedic herbs for different purposes, that's a growth category. We're
Rohit,
lucky to have inherited that type of ancestral medical system of Ayurveda.
yes.
Uh,
I, and I was in India last week. How the market, domestic market growing, that's a different topic. But so if we bring all those products into Canadian market or US market, huge thing that, what we talk today is only 5% of the total discussion. There is another topic, probiotics. That's a huge world. India is coming up really good probiotics, and then Ayurveda, and it's a very, very lot of expertise in probiotics existing in India. Only thing we have to fine tune for Canadian US markets. And again, I just want to say last thing. I know a lot of people are going sending me already messages, emails. I'm very happy. I'll get back to you.
yeah,
And and people don't believe that I'm a consultant because the way I interact, because I don't charge them for first, or I reply to all the messages. People, I'm not a typical consultant. I do want to help the people because I believe in one thing: if a brand grows, I grow with them. Uh, so I so I request everybody, instead of having multiple messages, in one email with one paragraph about your business product, if possible, attach your labels so that gives me idea what you're doing, and then I'm happy to spend half an hour with you, no cost, and we can discuss. And again, every business model is different, and I'm not right. I mean, there's no right formula, but it's an opinion I can give you, and then we can discuss. And then about my services, anything you think about a product, from product life cycle, starting from the inception to the shelf. That's what I call source to the shelf. In between anything, I'll try my best to support you. If not, I can direct you to the right guy.
thank you so much.
Thanks, Rohit. It's a great opportunity. I enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you. And thanks everyone for joining the call. Thank you for listening to us for the last hour and a half. It was great having you here. I tried to get to as many questions as we can. Obviously, we couldn't get to those questions. I've dropped uh, Dr. Naresh's Thumati's email here in the chat. Uh, and as he said right now, he's open to your emails. Just please try to summarize the situation as much as you can so he can get an idea of what he's dealing with. And one thing that he didn't mention that I would request is that if you have any company links, if you have maybe a LinkedIn profile, drop that in there so he can also understand who you are, where you're coming from, what's your background. That's really, really important. In addition to just putting, XYZ question, let him know who you are, where you're coming from. Put a LinkedIn there, put a company link there so he can get more of a background on who you are, where you're coming from. Okay,
Great.
thank you so much. Everyone have for those around the world, have a good night. For those of you on a similar time zone as me and Dr. Naresh, have a good rest of your day. Bye. Take
It's
care.
a, yeah, it's a pleasure connecting with you all, and happy to support. Thanks, Rohit, for this opportunity once again. And I log out now. Thank you.
Bye.